There's a lot of areas for Qualcomm to grow in. First of all, there's just the natural evolution of second generation technologies to third and fourth generation technologies. So people are getting new phones, they're getting smartphones. A lot of that's happening in emerging markets, and so the growth there is quite strong. Then we look at some areas internal to the industry where there's demand for data that's quite strong, and the networks aren't able to keep up with it. Well, we've created technologies and products to address that and even give us 1,000 times more capacity in the networks at something like 1,000 times less cost. And so we've been focused on that as a growth area as well. And then there's the fact that computing is changing. We all now use our smartphones to get our email, to get on the internet. But the bigger form factors, the tablets, the things that we used to use a laptop or a desktop computer, these are going to be increasingly mobile. So as we take the technologies that we perfected in the smartphone and we use that always-on connection, instant on, always synchronized, very low power, power efficient, and we take that to the full computing space, I think there's a very large growth opportunity for us there. And then as we look out a little farther, the whole notion of the Internet of Everything, where all the things around us will be connected. The phone will sit at the center of that. There will be sensors in the environment around us, sensors on our bodies. We'll have wearable devices, both for measuring us and for giving us feedback. These will all interface into the phone, and the net effect will be this merging, blurring of cyberspace and real space that will happen because the phone is there giving you access, telling you what content, services, people, the things that are around you that you can interact with. So a lot of opportunities for growth in that area. We're looking at healthcare as a really interesting possibility, smart grid, automotive, consumer electronics. We're even talking to white goods manufacturers, so connectivity being built into refrigerators and washing machines and all the kinds of appliances that you have in your house. Lots of opportunities going forward. The opportunity there that you can have advances in smart grid, in healthcare, and education, and just the ability to get connectivity everywhere in the world, not just in developed countries, but in developing and emerging markets as well. So this is a big idea. Another big growth area is in the networks. So the networks are going to change. They're going to be deployed much more like a Wi-Fi access point instead of a traditional way a cellular network's been deployed in the past, which is big towers that are beaming the signal into the building. In the future, you're going to have small, very, very inexpensive devices that'll be inside your home, providing very high bandwidth in your home, and also providing coverage out into the street for people walking by as well. And in that way, we're going to increase the capacity of the network dramatically. So you won't have to worry so much when you want to download that video or when you want to do other things that take a lot of bandwidth, whether it's augmenting the reality that you see around you, transmitting back information about your health and sensor data of you or the environment around you, getting information on when I walk into a retail environment, they can give me offers and I can either accept or reject those things. I can protect my privacy, or I can let them know that, yeah, it's Paul Jacobs who just walked in the store and I want to check in so I get my loyalty points. A lot of really interesting implications of having connectivity in the world around us, with this 1000x idea that we have of making the network dense and much higher capacity and lower cost, or this idea of the digital sixth sense where we'll actually be blurring the lines between physical and cyberspace. And I think those kinds of ideas are big, and they will be trends for the next 10 years. To really try and foster a sense of innovation in the company, the first thing you have to focus on are people and their ideas, and to create a work environment where they have access to each other, to a lot of diversity, so a lot of information and idea sharing, that they have access to the best equipment, the best platforms, that they understand why they're doing it, that we articulate a clear vision for the company and for the industry so people can innovate within that that vision. Right now we're working on a vision we call the digital sixth sense, which is this idea that the world around us will be connected, and the phone and the devices that we carry with us will allow us to essentially blur physical space and cyberspace. And that creates the opportunity for people to innovate in software and services and new radio technologies and new chip technologies, change the way that our phones actually work, create new accessories and new products. So there's a lot of opportunity to do that. But I think the key thing is that we allow our people to create new ideas and actually work on them and try and turn them into something bigger. And we have very formal processes for innovation in business units where it's more incremental. There's very tight processes, and then they go all the way out into things where we have websites where people can upload ideas, and it goes through a whole peer review, and then there's a contest. In the end, people get to create something and present it to the senior management of the company, and we, as senior managers, we spend the time and listen to the pitches from the various teams, and then find places for those things to be commercialized or whatever would happen with them. So we have a wide range of processes, and fundamentally, I think the thing that motivates people the most is that they're part of a company that's in an industry which is probably the most profound and most widespread technology platform that humans have created, which is the wireless industry, and that they know that if they have an idea, it can improve people's lives in a massive scale. So there's this saying, think globally and act locally. At Qualcomm, the engineers and in fact everyone at the company knows that they can think globally and act globally, because if you have an idea, in the span of 3 months, with the scale of chips that we ship, you can get your idea into 170 million plus people's hands in 3 months. And there's not a lot of places in the world you can do that. So you know that you literally can change the world for the better with your ideas. And that's probably the most motivational thing. Qualcomm in 5 years will be pretty much the same company in the sense that our core businesses will still be our main core businesses, but we are, and we have been, partnering with companies in other industries. And I see over the next 5 years there will be an increasing recognition that wireless is an enabling technology for other industries. And healthcare is one that we look at, but also automotive and energy and education and just a broad range of areas. And so I think over the next 5 years, Qualcomm will be seen as a partner to an even broader range of companies than we are right now. Right now, we're known well in the telecom industry, not so well outside. And I think in 5 years, we'll be known much more broadly. I mean, one of the ways that we create partnerships in other industries is we really try and get ahead of the curve to gather people who are interested in the application of wireless to whatever the other industry is, pull them together in conferences and think tanks and these kinds of things, and then we go out publicly and make speeches about that, and find the forum where we can express the idea. So one of the things that we do to try and to build partnerships is we try and bring people together, and the reason is because when you get convergence of industries, which of course convergence is a very overused word, but people think that what that means is that everybody in both industries participates, and what really is the case, it's the overlap. And you have to find the people who understand the issues of both the wireless side and whatever that other industry that we're working with is. And so in order to create those people who don't really exist at first, you have to bring people together, and you bring people together over a fairly, it can take a few years to sort of build up the expertise. And we are there, I think, now in the healthcare space, where we've created a whole set of people who understand both wireless and healthcare, and now those are the people that are going to create the progress. One of the areas that we really try and engage with the communities that we work in is through a project that we have called Wireless Reach. And it's a thing where we go around the world and we find both governments, NGOs, local wireless operators, local partners, and we use the wireless technology to create some social benefit, whether it's in healthcare or education, entrepreneurship, public safety, e-governance. There's a lot of different programs that we do around the world. And what it does is it has actually been proven in many cases to improve the lives of people. We've done a project, for example, in India where fishermen use their phone to get weather information, get information where the fish are, get information where there's market demand, so that they don't all go sell their fish in the same place. And it's already been proven to improve the economic of those fishermen. We do projects around healthcare where we have a teledermatology project in Egypt where people use their cell phone camera to take picture of skin conditions. They then send it back to a panel of doctors who then can diagnose and tell the person, okay, here's what you now need to do with this. We've done a number of education programs. We have one in the United States where we gave smartphones to kids in an algebra class, and there was a control. The same teacher, two classes. One class had the smartphones, one didn't. And the class with the smartphones scored 30% higher on standardized tests than the one without. Another area that we worry about in terms of stakeholders is obviously environmental, and we're very focused on having our buildings be green. We're focused on recycling and sustainability. As you get a broader range of stakeholders that are interested in the company, whether they're directly invested in or they're third parties that are monitoring, you have to be transparent. And so we went through a process earlier in the year where we were requested to make more transparent our policies around donations to political campaigns. And that's a big issue in the United States right now. And we were able to resolve the issue so well that we came in, I think, we were tied for first in terms of the most openness in political transparency. Obviously, there are some things relative to the business that you have to keep as secrets, that you don't necessarily want your competitor to know exactly how you structured this contract or that. And so, there is a delicate balance, but in things like that, or things relative to the environment, things relative to your engagement in the political process, those kinds of things, we try and be as open as we can, and I think that helps our standing in the community.